Get ready to uncover truths and reality of today's politics. Here's your host, Lori Mills.
Welcome to a fabulous episode of Uncover California. Trump won. Landslide, red tsunami, whatever you want to call it. I'm so looking forward to the positive things that are going to be happening in the next 4 years. Hopefully 4 years, it could be too. I want Eric to throw up a chart for us. Do you guys know that in 2020, because of COVID, they took mass mail-in voting nationwide, the California model, that we're still dealing with the elections here? You guys, where are the 15 million extra votes? Did these people just decide not to vote, or was it fraud? I, for one, have never backed off this. I think Trump won 2020, and I'm not backing off that. If you think that he didn't, then produce the 15 million people. In California, we are watching shenanigans, even right now, where all of a sudden all these ballots are being discovered and congressional members are losing their seats. Mass mail-in voting is not safe nor secure. And as I've said before, when I ran for office, my own son's vote did not show up. Yet we get all these other votes coming in. Trump won 2020, and now we red waved the entire country. It's interesting to see, though, Californians that just don't like the policies that they voted for are now moving to Arizona, Colorado, and other states. And yet now we're starting to see those shenanigans in those states. We have to get rid of mass mail-in voting. I hope President Trump does an executive order. I am fine with absentee ballots. I am fine even with a little bit early voting. I don't have a problem with that. But mailing a ballot to everyone in the state or everyone in the country, I can tell you right now, I have spent the last week curing ballots. What does that mean, curing ballots? If you mail in your ballot, you have to sign the outside of your envelope. And what we're finding is they reject a lot of these envelopes, which is a good thing. However, it's just so much work that is unnecessary. If we didn't have mass mail-in voting, we wouldn't have signature mismatches or missing signatures, and we wouldn't have this problem. Heck, my signature changes with my mood. If I'm grumpy, it's a little bit more scribbly. If I'm really happy, it'll be a little bit more fluffy. So anyways, that is my message for today. Get rid of mass mail-in voting. Other than that, I'm really excited about some of the cabinet picks that are coming. Mike Walz, Green Beret. Stephen Miller, he's going to slay it. That guy is so incredible. And Deputy Chief of Staff there. It's going to be interesting to see who some of the other picks are. Elise Stefanik, UN Ambassador. That's going to be great. So we've got good things coming. I've had a couple of my Democrat friends call me and say, oh my gosh, I'm so worried. And I've had to remind them, I love you. Do you really think that I'm going to support a Nazi who's going to take apart the country? And it's really sad because a lot of them, they're worried about abortion. California is a state where you can kill your baby 28 days after birth. That's sick. That's extreme. I am pro-life. I've always been pro-life with minor exceptions. But you guys, Trump gave abortion back to the states. If you live in a state like California, you don't have to worry about it. Trump's not a Nazi. He proved it for the 4 years he was in office. You don't have to worry about it. I want every one of you to go to the grocery store within this week. I want you to take pictures of the prices. And then I want you to hold those photos for 1 year. And a year from now, I want you to compare the prices that you're paying today to the prices that you're paying a year from now. And let's see who's better for America. So that's my little rant for today. On today's show, we've got a very special guest. And if any of you've seen the movie Sound of Freedom, it was made about a man named Tim Ballard. Well, Tim's going to join us today to tell you his story on rescuing children. And I'm really excited. After that, we're going to have an angel mom on who's going to talk about the death of her 11-year-old son at the hands of an illegal migrant. It's time to close the border, guys. Time to shut down the cartels. Time to shut down the human traffickers and go find the 325,000 missing kids. So stay tuned. After a message from our sponsor, we'll be right back with Tim Ballard.
How'd that make you feel? Giving a child his freedom.
Felt good.
You have been at this for 12 years.
My country, 'tis of thee.
Why are you doing it?
Because God's children are not for sale. It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen.
We're Homeland Security. You know we can't go off rescuing Honduran kids in Colombia.
This job tears you to pieces. And this is my one chance to put those pieces back together.
And yet somehow you have failed to bring me one real-world lead.
It's over, Tim. Close up and come back home.
So you quit your job and you go and rescue those kids.
South of that river is all rebel territory. No one goes in.
What if this was your daughter?
Sorry, she's gone.
Hear that? That's the sound of freedom.
Sound of Freedom is one of those films that can legitimately change this world. So we want to ignite a fire in audiences and open their eyes to the dark reality of millions of children that need our help. Let's make this film a historic event and the start, the end of child trafficking. Theaters across this country are already selling out. Pre-order your tickets today, and you can send the message that God's children are no longer for sale.
Welcome to the MAGA Mall. We have the largest selection of the finest quality MAGA caps and Trump caps that are made. We have over 250 hats and 1,000 different products in 28 product categories. All the caps are made from premium cotton twill. Everything on them is embroidered. As a matter of fact, in the last election cycle, we donated over 45,000 caps to Trump-endorsed candidates and conservative causes all the way across America. And you can buy any of our products by going to our website. It's at themagamall.com, like on the sign over here, and use promo code CALI, and that's for Uncover California. That will get you a 10% discount off of all of our products and also help this worthy cause. And remember, it's always a MAGA day at the MAGA Mall.
Tim Ballard, welcome to Uncover California. I'm so blessed to have you here, sir.
It's an honor to be with you.
Well, I so much to talk to you about. I want to start out with the film that was based on your life. You worked for Homeland Security, and you basically tracked these missing children and the children that were being trafficked. Tell us and my audience a little bit about that journey for you.
Well, I spent 12 years as a special agent undercover operator for Homeland Security investigations. And it was frustrating, to put one word on it, I guess, because first of all, in the early 2000s, when I began this work, few people even knew what it was, how expansive it was, and the policies and procedures of the United States government just made it almost impossible to get creative and get outside the box. And after 12 years of mostly being told, no, you can't do that, you can't, get that creative, because to infiltrate these rings, what we learned is you got to be super creative. You have to be willing to move on a dime and pivot and turn and infiltrate this way, infiltrate that way. And ultimately, I was working a case in Colombia, and that whole story is depicted in Sound of Freedom, where I was told, you need to come home because we can't find enough jurisdiction or budget, or it doesn't fit into our nice little box for you to stay in Colombia. And I had it after 12 years. I just said, then I quit. I'm staying here until I finish this operation. And that's pretty well depicted in the film Sound of Freedom, which led to one of our very first big operations, which occurred on an island outside of Colombia. And then it worked so well that I said, well, I'm just going to stay in the private sector and work as a private consultant for different governments. 10 years later, I had worked and my teams had worked in over 20 countries, doing very similar things. As you see depicted in Sound of Freedom, it's interesting, sometimes people act as though that was a one-off in a special circumstance. Not at all. Any of our operations could be made movies, and we've only sped up, not slowed down. We're doing more operations right now than ever before. And it's just what we've learned is the importance of a public-private partnership. We still work with law enforcement. I still work with HSI. They can do things I can't do. We can do things they can't do, but together we can do everything. We have a documentary coming out next year called Hidden War, which explains this concept where when the war broke out in Ukraine, we went out to help these orphans who were in the line of fire get out, and also hunt for pedophiles and traffickers, because it's precisely after or during wars or in the aftermath of hurricanes or natural disasters. That's what I've heard traffickers call that harvest time. We ended up locating a trafficking organization. Actually, they're a pedophile political group in Holland. They were trying to get the laws changed, and they ended up all getting arrested, and they were scattered through Latin America. And in just 4 short months, once we got the lead in Ukraine that they were trying to traffic Ukrainian child war victims who were vulnerable and exposed, we set off on a crazy journey. We went through 6 countries, 3 continents, and dismantled the entire ring. We landed pedophiles and traffickers in Dutch prisons, Mexican prisons, and Ecuador prisons, where we ended up taking down a child sex hotel where they were filling the place with children and inviting their pedophile friends to come in. So I could never have done such a thing in the government. We work with the governments, so we can move fast in ways they can't, but we still utilize their jurisdiction, their arrest power, charging power, and that's the model. That's the model that we should be using, and that we continue to use.
Well, it's so scary too, because knowing that America is probably the #1 consumer of child sex is absolutely disgusting. And I talked to Oscar Blue, who's been through the Darien Gap about 5 times, and he was talking about how they do traffic the children through there. And, Tara Lee Rodas has been on, and she told us about how we're giving children, migrant children, to sponsors, and we don't know who these people are. And now there's 325,000 missing kids. And then talking to JJ Carroll, who told me that basically the Biden administration entering us into the Global Compact of Migration and using the CBP-1 app to traffic these kids. Jill Biden sat on the board of Save the Children in Guatemala, and when the Guatemalan prosecutors said, "You're stealing our kids and they're being kidnapped and trafficked," Jill quit, and Joe Biden said, "Fire the prosecutor or you're not getting the money," kind of like what he did in Ukraine.
That's right.
So it's very disturbing because it's not just sex, from what I understand. They're organ harvesting these children.
Absolutely.
I'm just one of these people. I love kids and I love animals, and I'm like the mama bear. I'm not letting go of this. And I don't want people to become desensitized to it. And I think that's what people do. It's so horrible. Since you have continued on in this work, as you have said, what have you seen with the Biden administration when they took over and pretty much opened our borders? I'm imagining it has just been crazy for you. What's happened?
Oh my goodness. I spent 10 of my 12 years on that border. Okay.
Right.
The border enforcement rescues children because it forces the traffickers to have only one choice. They have to take the children, the drugs, whatever it is they're taking. The walls and the enforcement forces the traffickers to take them through the ports of entry where there are trained, uniformed women and men who know what to look for. In The Sound of Freedom, that's a very true story. In fact, they filmed the rescue of that little boy on the border at the very port of entry, the Calexico, California East port of entry. The walls saved that little boy. And so, and it was never politicized. I mean, the Clinton administration built more of the wall than anyone else. All of us on the border knew more enforcement, more barriers, more walls equals more rescues. And so when Kamala Harris comes in and calls it a vanity project and it's fake and it doesn't work, and then Biden follows through with these horrific policies, which basically is open border policies, what they did by so doing is they converted our border agencies and the NGOs that support them into child trafficking delivery services. Tara Rodas is a great friend of mine. She's one of the great American heroes because she's there working and she sees, wait, what are you doing? Because what happened was there's something called the Flores settlement, which was well intended. It was a judicial decree from many, many years ago that said, if you end up with a child, that child must be released in 72 hours. Well, wait a minute. What are you thinking? Because these kids are showing up and they have to get them into the hands of any sponsor or else they'll get sued. Tara Rodas' boss said, Tara, we're not going to get sued by taking these unnamed children who no one is going to even know what we do with them anyway. We don't get sued for putting kids out to a sponsor. We get sued under the Flores settlement for keeping them here more than 3 days. And there's no time in 3 days to vet a sponsor. And so Tara pointed out, and she discovered, and other whistleblowers, that the HHS, who takes over the child welfare after CBP, gets them, they're discovering that they're literally giving these children to sponsors who are known child sex convicts, the gang members, and they don't care because you know what? They're getting tons of money for every kid that passes through. These NGOs are getting it's billions of dollars in government contracts. We've even discovered that these NGOs are forward deploying into Mexico, partnering with the traffickers to facilitate the movement of these children. They don't care. And what Biden and Harris have done is absolutely criminal in both the laws of man and God, because I've sat in Congress, I've testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee, of which then Senator Kamala Harris was there. They know what they're doing. They know that their policies are leading to the death, rape, and destruction of children, and they don't care. They don't care because the more people they let in, and then try to eliminate the voter ID laws, they're trying to use these people to get votes to stay in power, and they know that the cost of that is that the blood of children is on their hands, and they don't care. I've testified before Congress 4 times, and I've watched them. They just close their ears, close their eyes, they don't care. And this whole thing that maybe they're just ignorant, they're not ignorant. They know that they have converted NGOs, HHS, CBP into child trafficking delivery service. They know it. Blood is on their hands. And thank God that they are out of power and that a new administration who understands this, who I've worked directly with, they understand it and they're going to start to fix this. But in the meantime, we are working. We're going into Mexico now and rescuing children. I can tell you more about that in a few months because we're in the middle of an operation. I mean, we're having to go into Mexico
to come back.
Right. We're going to have to go move the line and south, and we're working with good-hearted Mexican officials who are helping us rescue children. And if you or your audience hasn't seen Line in the Sand by James O'Keefe,
right,
everybody needs to see that, because it exposes everything that Tara Rodas and others are trying to get out. And now we're going south of the border. And I'm actually working with James and others on that project to show what happens south of the border and how these corrupt officials being funded by the Biden administration are even facilitating the trafficking even further, not just north of the border, but even south of the border. So
right.
it's a massive problem. And if for no other reason to vote for Trump, it's to rescue what will be hundreds of thousands of children who otherwise would be stuck in, as you pointed out, the largest child sex market in the world is the United States. This is not the country you want to be lost in.
Right. And billions are being made on human suffering. And I'm not convinced that we don't have politicians on the take. I'm not convinced we don't even have pedophiles within our own government. I think, praise God, that President Trump was reelected. I want him to find these missing children. I want you to find these missing children. And I want to do whatever I can to help to keep shining light on it. I don't know in my heart of hearts how you can see certain things that you have seen. It has to be very, very difficult to go to sleep at night sometimes. Just knowing what these kids are going through. They're the innocent of the innocent. Oh. And the Democrats are the party that actually had an abortion bus outside of their convention. I mean, these people, blood sacrifice doesn't seem to be a problem for them. Are you already working with the Trump administration to plan out some strategy to find some of these missing kids and shut this down?
Yes. In fact, in October of 2020, I was in the White House with the president and his national security team, and we were formulating the plan of how we were going to go out with a never before tried plan to go out and forward deploy and find our sick American pedophiles and end this market. And then of course he didn't win. And so what we got in exchange was
someone, he not win? There seems to be 15 million votes missing this year.
That's right. Yeah. I'll just say he didn't end up in the White House in the end.
Right.
And then we ended up with an administration who dares not even mention the word child trafficking, right? Because they know they're complicit in it and they just don't care. And so, yeah, we hope to reestablish what we were going to do in 2020, 2021. We have the blueprints. We're ready to go. And you mentioned finding these hundreds of thousands of children who are missing. So we submitted a bill to then Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, at the end of Sound of Freedom. It was called the Sound of Freedom Act. And that's exactly what it intends to do. And we will get that done. We will get that passed. And it's an effort to go back, retrace, and find these hundreds of thousands of children that Biden and Harris sacrificed, on the altar of political power and ego. We're going to go find them. We will find them. We will bring them back to their families. After Sound of Freedom came out, I got invited to meet with the president of Honduras. She's super, super socialist. Okay. The next day I flew to Guatemala and met with the president of Guatemala, who at the time, he's now, his term ended, super, super conservative. And what I found was so interesting, politics aside, they didn't care. They both said the same thing to me. Your open border policies are killing our children. Your open border policies are incentivizing traffickers to come into our countries, Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico, even as south as Colombia and Ecuador, working with them. They're seeing an increase of kidnapping of their children, and they know why. Because they're easily being delivered, thanks in large part to Biden and his horrific demonic policies. Their children are being disappeared and trafficked and raped and put into slave labor, organ harvesting, thanks to these open border policies. So it's not even political when you get south of the border. It's just a humanitarian situation. And these open border policies will go down in history as the worst policies since 1850 with the Fugitive Slave Act or the league. It's just slavery in another name. And sure enough, who was behind the 19th century slavery? The Democratic Party. Who's behind the 21st century slavery? The Democratic Party. They need to be gone. They need to be out of power. And we need people with a heart who love children, who put children first. And that's why thank God Trump is in power, and we'll start seeing some significant changes.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. I've heard a lot about even our own foster children here are pretty much sold out into these situations.
Absolutely.
It's really disgusting.
That's the number one target for traffickers, are foster children who aren't being watched and taken care of. They're the most vulnerable to being trafficked. We estimate up to 200,000 U.S. born, raised children are in the commercial sex trade in one way or another here in the United States. Of course, when you talk about foreign children, you can quadruple that number. But it's a massive slavery problem that's bigger than even the slavery that existed in Lincoln's day. It's bigger, and we're ignoring it, just as they ignored it up until the Civil War. They ignored it. The media ignored it then, just as they're ignoring it now. They don't want to talk about it. But it's real, and we're going to be loud, and we're going to fix this problem.
Well, I want to help. I totally want to help. It's also interesting, the Epstein tapes. We know that there's video. Now we've got the Diddy parties. We know that there's video. Do you think that we can get President Trump to basically release the tapes, whether there's black bars on things, faces hidden, to take down these pedophiles? Because it's that industry that needs to go. And if any of these people are in our government, they need to be held accountable. We need to seriously drain the swamp. What is your opinion on that?
I know for a fact he's going to release it. He told me personally he's going to release it. And this thing's just, we're gonna see where the roots are in all of this. And that's why they want to stop all of us. I mean, the minute Sound of Freedom came out and I had the ability to now access all the governments I needed to, the attacks against me have been unbelievable. I mean, my family, we're about to lose our house. We're about to declare bankruptcy. I've been under this vicious lawfare, and and it's all coming to a resolve pretty soon here. We're going to discover who's behind this. Literally millions of dollars have gone into just destroying me and my family, so I can't work. But the joke's on them, because I've been working harder than ever through this, rescuing more than ever through this. And the very lawfare that's been attacking me is going to allow me to expose who is behind the funding of trying to stop me. But it's only motivated me more to fight harder. So so much is going to be coming out over the next 6 to 12 months that it's going to be shocking.
Well, and I think transparency is the only way that this nation heals. I actually read up a little bit on the lawfare against you, but understand, I've seen what they've done to Donald Trump. I saw what they did to Justice Kavanaugh, and I don't believe in coincidences, and I thought it was pretty funny the minute you release this film, you get all these accusations coming your way. So I honestly didn't buy it. I was just like, oh, here we go again. They've gone so far with this stuff that they have no credibility. They have zero credibility. And you must have a heck of a wife, I tell you. Kudos to your wife.
She is amazing. We've been through hell and back, and it's only made us stronger. Yeah, in a few weeks, you're going to see a massive exposure of who's actually behind this, what they're doing. This is all about fighting. This is all about fighting me and our very effective teams up against a $150 billion a year business. And they do not want us to succeed, but all they're doing is exposing themselves further. All this lawfare is actually in the end going to be a super blessing, because it's going to allow us other rabbit holes to go down that we didn't have otherwise, to expose who is actually behind this. And I know who it is. I can't talk about it quite yet, but it's all going to come out.
And, it's really sad, too, is that we do have a mainstream media. Why I'm here today, heck, I used to sell real estate. Now I'm an ex-candidate that has a vodcast. A lie can't stand in the light of truth. That's something my pastor always says. And I really believe that we have a media that lies to the American people on a daily basis. And that needs to, I don't know what they do with 430, which actually protects them, but these people are knowingly lying. And I really believe that the only way that we pull this back, we save the kids, we restore this nation and heal this land, is transparency.
Correct.
What do you see going forward with that?
Well, that's what we intend to do. That's why we film everything. We're working on an operation. If you invite me back on your show in January, I'll tell you what happened. Okay. But we're doing something that's never been attempted before, to rescue kids and expose how deep this goes. And we're working with Mexican officials. They're more upset than most Americans because it's their children who are being beat up and abused and trafficked, and they know that it's thanks to these open border policies. So
right.
It's all transparency. You're absolutely right. That's why we film what we do. We're gonna film what we're doing over the next several weeks here. And I got to come back on the show in January to report back to what it is that we discovered, and it's gonna be groundbreaking and mind blowing.
Well, and hopefully a saving grace for a lot of kids that don't deserve to be tortured.
That's right.
To me, you attack the most of the innocent and vulnerable. You're evil. I honestly, I would love to see, just like O.J. Simpson trial, that when we hold these people accountable, every single station, it's broadcast, it's transparent. Yeah, they can have a defense, but we need to expose what they've done. And again, there's so many people that have believed the lie, that have fallen under this spell of delusion from the media. I really believe it's the only way to heal this land is rip the Band-Aid off and let's work together to make things better. That's what we're going to
do. We're going to be very transparent. Trump's going to be transparent. We're going to open up, shine light on the darkness, and discover who's behind this. And it's going to be shocking to people when they find out who's actually behind this.
Well, and again, those people that are behind this, I don't care who you are, you need to pay. You need to pay.
That's right. That's right. There's only one time in the scripture where Jesus starts speaking mafioso, but it's righteous indignation. And he says, when he's talking about children.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is the Prince of Peace saying, it better that a millstone be hung about your neck than that you should hurt one of these little ones.
Right.
I mean, those are some strong words. We know where the Lord stands on his children, and he will ensure that the light is bright, that it exposes, and that it leads to the rescue of what is now millions of children who are stuck in sex slavery.
Yeah, it's totally satanic. Tim, our time went super fast. I'm so blessed you came on. I'm going to hold you to coming back for sure.
Bring me back in January. I will have things to say. I'll have footage to show you, and it's going to be great. So
okay, let people know how they can help you, how they can support you and your family, because again, we know that you've been attacked because, of course, the darkness.
Oh yeah, I'm millions of dollars, literally millions of dollars in legal debt right now.
Wow.
But it's when we expose the truth, it's all gonna come back, twofold.
Well,
there's a Give Send Go Ballard Family Defense Fund. And people can donate there. Also, I work directly with what I think is the best anti-trafficking group on the planet called Aerial Recovery. And those are funding our operations around the world. So we need help. We need help to keep fighting this, and my family frankly needs help. I don't usually talk about that because I don't want to distract.
Well, you love your family. Yeah, but you love your family, and you know what? Your family's had your back through all of these years. Of course, as a man of God, you're going to protect your family, your wife, and your children, and you have every right to do so. And people can also follow you on X. Do you want to give your X handle?
Yeah, it's Tim Ballard 89 on Instagram, on X, and I'm constantly doing updates on our rescue operations, showing you amazing footage. We're doing several documentaries right now with a guy named Ryan Mata. Likely going to be doing one with his stuff's amazing. So I'm working on several documentaries with him right now to expose all of this. So yes, follow me at Tim Ballard 89 and stay updated on what's going on.
Thank you so much for coming on, Tim, and I am going to have you back for sure. And I won't see you before Christmas, so have a very Merry Christmas.
You too.
Trump
you
won.
Too. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks. You're welcome. Okay. All right, everybody, please stand by because our next guest is an angel mom. Her son, 11 years old, was killed by an illegal immigrant. Stay tuned after this message from our sponsor.
Hi, this is James from Roughneck Roast. I'm a lover of coffee, country, and Christ. Like many of you, I'm fearful about the future of America if we don't elect President Trump back in office. That's why when you order coffee from roughneckroasts.com, I donate 20% of all sales to the Trump 2024 campaign so we can fight to make America great again. As a thank you for your support, I'm happy to offer you a discount on coffee orders during this all-important presidential campaign. Get 15% off your coffee order today by using the code CALI, C-A-L-I, at roughneckroasts.com. That's C-A-L-I at roughneckroasts.com. Join the Roughneck Revolution one sip at a time with my proudly American roasted coffees. Together, let's put America's greatest president back in the White House and take back our country. That code again is CALI, C-A-L-I, for 15% off your coffee order at roughneckroasts.com. Thank you, and God bless.
Welcome back to Uncover California. Today, I'm super honored and yet heartbroken to have my next guest on. Angie Morphin lost her 11-year-old son, Ruben, to an illegal immigrant. And again, praise God, we got President Trump back and we can start securing our border and getting rid of these criminals. Angie, welcome to Uncover California.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us about Ruben. What was he like? Tell us about your baby.
Well, Ruben was my oldest, and he was actually 13. He had just turned 13.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And, it's okay. He was a seventh grader, and he was invited to a party. Some girls wanted to meet him, and he was at that age, where you like little girls.
Yeah.
And some of his friends convinced him to go to this party, and he didn't have a ride home. So he ended up walking home with boys that he grew up in the neighborhood. Back then, they didn't really have to watch their back or anything because, it wasn't as bad. It started getting bad when they passed the first amnesty in 1987.
Right.
But when Ruben died in 1990, that's when the gang violence started. And Ruben was walking home with his friends. They told him to run because he was the smallest and the youngest. But the guy, his name is Ezekiel Mariscal. He wasn't even from Salinas. He was here for the holidays visiting family. And he decided to do an initiation. And he grabbed Ruben by the shoulder and shot him back of the head point blank.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for your loss. And I can tell it hurts as much today. It
does. It does. It hurts just as much today as if it was just yesterday.
Oh, I wish I could give you a hug.
He died senselessly, and he was actually executed. He was executed.
Right.
Because
yeah. And so watching Kamala Harris and Biden take over our border when finally President Trump was actually doing something about this madness, it must have really upset you to see what they have done with our border, especially now that we've got 325,000 missing kids, the continued murders on American citizens by these illegal immigrants. That must have threw you back into the emotion of what had happened to your family, I'm assuming.
Every time that I see someone die at the hands of an illegal, it just hurts me because I've been fighting this since Ruben died. And it seems like it never got better. But in 2016, President Trump had Ruben's picture on stage with him in Costa Mesa. And he's given my son a voice. And he's the only one that's ever given my son a voice and myself and other angel moms. Because the Democrats attack. I've been called a racist by even my own people, which they say I'm their people, But nothing hurt me more than to lose Ruben to another Latino's hand.
Right. And the Latino, that's the one thing that I really don't understand. And I was kind of encouraged this election cycle. The Latino community is a conservative community. You're God-fearing, God-loving people. And yet we've got the Democrat Party that continuously lies to the Latino people. And they don't tell them the truth, and they think that handouts are going to help. But if a lot of the Latinos knew that you're voting for child sex trafficking, that you're voting for full-term abortion, that you're voting for basically the destruction of children, I don't know how anybody can vote that way. And for somebody like you who has lost your child, for anyone to call you a racist, shame on them. Truly shame on them for attacking a mother who lost her baby to a crime that never had to happen.
I think in 1999, I testified before Congress on my son's murder. Before Sheila Jackson Lee, she even called me a racist and it was
She's an evil woman. Everybody knows she's a piece of crap.
She was an evil woman, and I didn't cry for her when she passed away. I'm sorry to say that she actually had her 13-year-old son with her that day to show me that she had her 13-year-old son. And
that's
I thought
vicious.
That was evil.
It's vicious. It's evil. I had no respect for her. I saw exactly who she was as a woman, and I'm sure I don't know where she is today, but anybody that has that darkness in their hearts, especially toward a mom who lost her kid, no love lost from me. And also seeing what she had done throughout her career, no love lost from me.
No love lost here either.
Yeah. So becoming an angel mom, you've got a special new family of mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters that you guys support each other, don't you? The angel community. Tell me about that a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I miss all those ladies, because when President Trump was in office, he would invite us to different events. And I got to know a lot of these mothers, and we all cry for the same things. We all think the same way, and we all love President Trump. And we just feel that he's the only one that's ever actually reached out to us and gave our children a voice.
Yeah, and I do think that with him back in office, we're going to start to see change. I want to finish the wall, and we do need to do this mass deportation of criminal aliens for sure. It has to happen,
for sure,
and we need to find the missing kids.
It has to happen. Yes.
What was it like for you? How was it when you met President Trump? How did he treat you? Do you want to share that story a little bit?
Well, let me tell you, when he first came to California, they called all the people they knew that had lost a child to illegal immigration. He went with Mr. Shaw, and he was invited by Mr. Shaw. And they called me, but I live in Salinas. I don't live in LA. So for me, It would have been like 5 hours just to get there. And I was devastated because I wanted to be there to represent my son. But I had to call my sister Lupe. She lives in Santa Ana, and she represented my son. And she just loves President Trump. And she was going to vote for Cruz at that time. But when she met President Trump, or candidate Trump, she just fell in love with him. And she did everything she had to represent me and my family and my son. She did a great job. Afterwards, President Trump had Ruben's picture on stage with him in Costa Mesa, like I said. When I was invited to the White House, it was awesome. It was just awesome meeting him. And he's a good man, and he's caring, and he deserves what he got. He deserves to be in office, and the American people deserve President Trump to lead us.
Yeah. And since Biden and Kamala, the border czar, have been in office, we've just seen death and destruction and billions spent on human suffering. And I'm so glad that we're going to start to see an end to that. So how many children do you have?
I had 5. Ruben died.
Right.
After Ruben, it was my daughter. She's like 40 now. She was only 7 when he died.
Right.
And my son Fernando was 3 when he died, and he's 37. He's exactly 10 years younger than Ruben would have been. And the Lord blessed me at 41 with twin girls.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What is your happiest memory that you have about Reuben? Like, who was he? A 13-year-old boy. They start getting a little feisty. But tell me more about him. I want to know about him. I want to remember him. I want to honor him. Who was Reuben?
Reuben was a little kid. Oh my God, he was so lovable. He was just lovable, and he loved children. And all his pictures that I have of him, he's actually hugging his siblings, which was Esther and Fernando. And he loved them so much, and he hated children to get hurt. He was just a good kid,
Yeah. And your family didn't deserve what happened,
No. Before he died, I didn't know anything about politics. I really didn't know much about God. I knew there was a God, but after Reuben died, I realized there is a God. First thing I asked was if my baby suffered, and the doctor said no, that it's like he went into a deep sleep right away. And I thank God every minute after that, because I didn't want my baby to suffer anymore.
Right.
What they did to him wasn't right. He had a right to be in that street. He had a right to be walking home. This is his country. It wasn't theirs. It was his. And my husband was from Mexico, and he supported me 100% when it came to the illegal immigration issue and how they killed Reuben. And I thank my husband for that. I lost him 2 years ago to COVID. And
I'm so sorry.
It's been a struggle, but I have a lot of faith in the Lord. And I
do
believe
too.
that the Lord has opened doors for me and Reuben, because my son's story was actually aired on America's Most Wanted. They got word that he was in the state of Jalisco, Mexico, hiding. They went in, put a warrant for his arrest, and he was apprehended on July 13th, 1994 in Jalisco, Mexico, served 20 years in a Mexican state prison for my son. And that doesn't really happen that much. I was blessed.
Do we know where this man is now?
When President Trump was in office, I actually called the ICE people and all the voice, and I called everybody I knew that was there because of President Trump, and they all told me the same thing. There was no activity from Mariscal. So that doesn't mean he's not here, but a lot of cops have told me that if there's no movement at all, they think he might have died in the prison in Mexico.
And praise the Lord for that. That's all I have to say about, my husband's an immigrant who came into the country legally 26 years ago. And I think that people need to understand, and it's one of the pushbacks that we get, is that we don't want immigrants. We do want immigrants. But we want people that are going to be an asset to our society. We want people that are not violent, and we need to know who these people are. And the darkness and evil that we've seen over the last 4 years is like nothing I had ever seen before. I think that when Reuben died, there wasn't a lot of light on this situation. You know what I mean? And God promises to work all things for the good for those that love him or are called according to his purpose. And I'll never understand sometimes why things are allowed to happen, like the death of Reuben, or even the death of Rachel Morin, or, the little Nungari girl who has just died. But I want to see the good that comes from it, because even though this is so tragic, I want to see good grow out of the darkness. Like, what have you seen God do to open up people's eyes to this migrant crime that you suffered from, that your family suffered from? Have you seen God work in mighty ways?
President Trump just won re-election in a landslide. Yes.
Praise God.
I was scared for this country, because I felt like if we lost this election, we were going to go into communism or something, socialism. I don't know. I was scared we were going to lose this country, because the Democrats, they just destroyed it. They destroyed everything. They destroyed everything in their path. I used to work in the fields, and I'm going to tell you right now, I worked in the fields for a long time, and I know that when there was too many, they would cut our hours. Even the legal immigrants suffer because of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. But, people like you and people like Agnes and the parents of, Kate Steinley's family, I think about all of that. And I agree with you 100%. I was in the same mindset. I thought if they win, if Kamala, they are able to steal this again, we wouldn't have a country. I think of just the damage that they've done, and it's going to take a while to dig out of the damage that they've done. Although I think that President Trump is putting together a good team. And after talking to Tim Ballard, I think that there's plans to tackle these criminal migrants. I think that we're going to see a change. The media, I don't know how, but they need to be held accountable for what they have done, knowingly lying to the public. And the attacks on people like you and your family need to stop. It's just amazing to me to watch people actually attack the victim and yet say that they're the compassionate ones. But yeah, we came real close from losing this country. I look back even now to 2020, and we did have COVID. And they pushed the California model of mass mail-in voting nationwide unconstitutionally. And we can see the difference. We now have 15 million missing voters. I don't believe Joe Biden ever got 81%, and nobody's ever going to change my mind on that. And I have the constitutional right to say so. And I think about all the attorneys like John Eastman that were attacked for trying to expose the fraud, just the lawfare that we have seen in this country. We were on a quick downward spiral to just America not existing anymore. So I am very, very grateful that we're turning it around. And it was so great to see you and Agnes at the Coachella rally. I was so blessed I think you were the favorite people that I had seen the entire day. I just have so much love for you. I really do. So are you still up in Salinas, and are you getting the support that you need? Are you getting the support that you need?
Not in Salinas. Not in Salinas. No. Nobody ever interviews me because they think I'm too radical to the right, So I'm sort of treated here locally. They treat me like poison.
Do you have any good Republican clubs in your area?
Well, I'm on the Central Committee, but I lost my chair. So in January, I'm off. But I have a lot of good friends on the board. Yeah.
Yeah, because so we just took over my Central Committee here I ran on my own, but there was a lot of people running, and we flipped our Central Committee to MAGA, which there were good people on, but some I would have loved to keep on, but it's I think going to be positive. But there are a few people that have gotten into the Central Committee, I think, under the guise that they were MAGA, but now they want to play milquetoast politics again. And I want to go on offense.
Yeah,
I want to expose them. Yeah, I think our only way forward is light, transparency, and truth. I think those people that, like the ones that attacked you, that, call you a woman who lost her child to an illegal immigrant, a racist for saying so, they need to be exposed. So I plan on shining the light on truth. And as my pastor always says, a lie can't stand in the light of truth. So I think that's our job moving forward, to expose and shine the light. So Angie, our time went really quick. I have nothing but love for you. And I would love for you to be able to tell people, where can they find you on social media if they want to support you, and where can people get a hold of you?
I'm only on Facebook. It's Angie Morphine Vargas. My Facebook got stolen about 3 years ago, and they stole all my pictures, and I tried hard to get it back, and they were just so against me. I even went to Facebook, wherever there is by San Jose. I went there, and we were surrounded, me and my brother, by police everywhere and guards. You can't even get close to that place.
Well, can I suggest something to you?
Yes.
Come over to X with us. I can tell you in 2020, I had posted about Hunter Biden's laptop. Within the same hour, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube took all of my pages down. And then they took my business pages. Since Elon Musk has bought Twitter, now X, that's where the information is. That's where the news is. It has made the mainstream media completely irrelevant, and they're still censoring on Facebook because nothing has changed there. So come over to X. You need to make an X account.
I'll tell my kids to help me put it on. Or my
Okay,
grandkids.
get on X. I think you'll like it better. It moves super fast, but everybody's there. So again, Angie, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciated having you.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you for having me on.
God bless you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, everybody, that's our show for today. Come back next week for some special surprises. Bye-bye.